Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is your boy GZTV back with another video, and we are here in the college dorm. This is my first game back. What the fuck? This is my first video back. I'm going to be making two videos really quickly tonight. I have to go to bed in a little under 3 hours, so I'm going to be cramming some stuff in. But yeah, we're here to talk about the 21st overall episode of The Sopranos. This is the 8th of the second season, one of the most pivotal that has happened in the entire series so far. So let's get into it. So we're going to talk about what happened. You know, obviously some people died, some people first appeared. There was a lot of important stuff that went on this episode. And to save some time for myself tonight, I watched a little bit of the next episode. A lot of interesting stuff, a lot of revelations we find out. So let's get into it. So Meadow hopes to go to Berkeley. Her parents, Tony and Carmela, want to prevent it because it's a super expensive college, and plus they don't want her going away. Their neighbor, Jean Cusimano, has a sister, Joan O'Connell, who is a prestigious alumna of Georgetown University. So obviously they can get the plug off of her and kind of talk about it and get her to get a letter of recommendation. So Carmela cajoles Jean into asking Joan to write a letter of recommendation for Meadow. You know, go through her transcripts, make some different comments, all that sort of stuff. So Joan declines, but Carmela visits her, presents her with a ricotta pie, and insists, I want you to write that letter. And obviously everyone around knows the reputation of the Sopranos. They know that they run. Everyone knows that they are mob members, or Tony is anyway, and that his wife is connected and she can get things to happen. So you don't really want to mess with that family. So, yeah. Jean reports to Carmela that the letter has been written and Carmela asked for a copy. So that whole thing kind of goes down. And then Silvio and Paulie pressure Richie to build Beansy a wheelchair ramp for his house as partial reparation for crippling him. We obviously saw that like a couple of episodes ago, like earlier on in the season. Richie Aprile like made it this weird return. I mean, he wasn't in the show originally, but he introduced himself as a major character for this season, and however he's still in the series. So Richie scornfully refuses, but when he learns that these instructions came from Tony, he sends his nephew Vito Spadafori and his construction workers to fully adapt Beansy's house. You know, widen the doors, put a little ramp up, do all this sorts of weird shit for his house. You know, it's kind of funny. But yeah, Richie has a leather jacket, which he obtained years ago from the feared mobster Rocco DeMio. This guy's like a huge name. He's a big reputation around the area or something. So you get a coat from him to get any sort of relic. I don't know how he got it. I don't even remember if he said in the episode or anything how he got it. But, I mean, yeah. So he gives it to Tony, who accepts it reluctantly, but politely is like, thank you, you know, you went out of your way. You got a mobster's coat. I guess that's pretty cool. Not something we can necessarily celebrate or anything, but hey. So Richie attaches great importance to the jacket and to the act of giving it to Tony. Like, he feels like it was important for him to do so. He feels like he did Tony kind of a service, and this jacket is super important. So he later sees it being worn by the husband of the Sopranos maid and is deeply offended, and he leaves. You know, him and Carmela are kind of having a conversation at the table, and he sees the guy walking around with it, and he's like, what the fuck? He obviously doesn't, like, express what happened to Carmela, but yeah. So Adriana, embarrassed in a restaurant by Christopher, has left him and gone back to her mother's. You know, she kind of resorts to her mother's. That obviously hasn't been shown on the show in the past, but like when she has troubles with Christopher and he's like pressuring her. He's a mafia member, obviously. That's kind of like the characteristics of a mafia member. It's kind of what they do. When she feels pressured, she just goes, and she has relationship trouble, she just goes to her mom's house. Like, that's her last resort type of deal. So yeah, Christopher goes to her, proposes marriage, and presents her with a ring. I mean, women love material things. This obviously proves it. Shows her the ring, and that's all she needs to be like, yeah, I will get back with you, and we can reconcile our relationship. She says she loves him and the ring. So, like, in bed, he tells her, I'm back on track, rededicating myself, and that means to her and also to Tony, because it kind of reflects what in the previous episode, like, the ending sequence of him kind of making the decision to return to the mafia and to do all this stuff. So Matt and Sean continue to work with Christopher, breaking into safes. You know, they're trying to work their way up. I mean, we saw at the beginning of the show, and like Christopher was kind of in a similar situation, trying to gain the respect, trying to become a made man, and at this point he really has earned his stripes and he's really done stuff for the mafia. So, having been suggested various slights and snubs by members of the DeMio family, they feel they are getting nowhere and must do something drastic. They must do something to kind of gain attention, which I don't know why they think of that. And, like, at the end of the episode, which we will get to what happens here in a moment, I still don't understand how that was justifiable what they did. It was a bit weird. So they ambush Christopher as he's leaving a diner, imagining that this will gain them favor with Richie because they were like, well, Richie doesn't really like him that much. I don't know. It's a weird situation as to why they did that, but yeah, Richie doesn't like them for that. Like, Christopher shot 3 times and left unconscious. Sean is killed, and kind of the fate of Christopher is like the cliffhanger, and it's kind of up in the air for the next episode of the show. Sean is obviously killed. Matt flees and asks for Richie's protection. Richie, furious, chases him away. Like, get the hell out of here. You ruined a lot of things with this. Like, you're creating some rifts between my people and Tony Soprano's people. So, like, yeah, you're kind of an asshole for that. Like, what are you doing? 2 outcasts and the mafia kind of acting out. It's just so stupid. Why? You know. So, as Christopher lies comatose in the hospital, Tony asks, how could this happen? I mean, who would have thought of doing this? You know, this is one of his closest members in the mafia. Like, this is a son to him. He's kind of like a nephew, but like, he's like a son to him. He feels like a father figure to this kid because his parents aren't present in the show, and outside of the show, I would assume they aren't. Like, you know. But yeah, Sean Gismonti was shot in the head in self-defense by Christopher Moltisanti, so one of those little gremlins, one of those little freaking minions is out of the show. Some first appearances. Liz LaServa is the mother of Adriana LaServa, so we're starting to meet the family of some of the other characters, which is interesting, and that's how you kind of know you're getting into the depths of the show. Brian Spatafore is the brother of Vito Spatafore. Donald Donnie K. Cafranza is a soldier in Richie April's crew, and these are kind of people we get introduced to that could possibly have small subplots moving on in the show. I don't think they're going to pose anything major, but yeah. I don't really have much to say. It's a crazy episode, super pivotal to the series. This is super important. And yeah, the way the episode that follows the aftermath is pretty important for the show, like how they execute it, because this is a huge moment. And this was one of the craziest episodes in the series. Like, and it's actually funny because I was watching this and I was kind of thinking, like, is something bad going to happen to Christopher eventually? Because it feels like he's kind of escaped a lot of situations, but it's crazy because right then and there, like the next scene after I thought that when I was watching, he literally gets shot like 3 times. And it's like, wow, is this man going to die? I feel like it's a little early to kill him, you know? And obviously the fate of his is determined at the point I am in the next episode. So we will discuss that tomorrow in a full edited format. So let me know. New studio in the school. Leave a like, comment, subscribe to all that stuff. I got to get some other stuff prepped.